Second place starter in next Sunday's 57th annual Daytona 500, Jimmie Johnson, driver the number 48 Lowe's Chevrolet. This is Jimmie's fourth career front row starting spot for the Daytona 500. And obviously he'll be starting up front alongside Hendrick Motorsports teammate Jeff Gordon. This is the fourth front row sweep for Hendrick Motorsports in the Daytona 500 as well. The other three were 2011, 2010, and 1989. So, Jimmie, congratulations on a front row starting spot. Just tell us maybe how important it is to share that front row with your teammate and know that you're locked in for next week already.
Yeah, it's nice to be locked in on Thursday with the duels. You don't have to take any big risks or chances, so it's nice to know that we've got a great starting spot for the 500. So we'll enjoy the week, and more so on an emotional level. This sends a big thank you back to all of our folks at Hendrick Motorsports and all the different shops and departments. They've been working so hard to get our cars ready for the season and to get a front row sweep in all four Hendrick cars in that final qualifying session, I think says a lot. And the only way the drivers can really thank everybody for their hard work is to go out there and stand on it. And we did that today and did a nice job working the qualifying sessions as we needed to advance and knock down that front row.
We'll open up for questions. We'll go to Tom, and then we'll come to Reed. Tom Jensen behind you.
Hey, Jimmy, Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. 4 Hendrick Chevys and 4 Gibbs Toyotas in the top 8. Is that who it's going to be on Sunday?
It's so hard to predict. I mean, we saw last night with all the chaos. I feel like amongst those 8 cars, you have 8 really good drivers with the draft. And I think our 8 cars over the last few years maybe have been just a little step ahead of the competition. So traditional thinking, yes, and we just don't have a clue. And I think last night's the best evidence to support that. Although one of those 8 did win that race, so.
Go to Reed, then Kenny, then Mike.
Reed Spencer with NASCAR Wire Service. When you realized that you'd gotten the last position there on the, coming off pit road, did you think you were in the catbird seat at that point? And conversely, did you think you might have waited too long?
Man, we had some cues in timing marks what we thought we needed to leave pit road at, and that time came and went. And I really felt like no one was going to get back in time. And I would be on pole position, 11 would be next to us. And then as we were making the lap, we got up to speed and through the gears and covered so much territory that as they're giving me my cues, I'm like, I think most are going to make it. Now I'm in a position where I'm not going to make it. But we just kind of, we knew what the risks were, and in order to get the pole, you've got to take a big chance, and that can be front row or 12th, but 12th at a plate track isn't the end of the world. So we were willing to take that risk and to try to gamble to be there. And we made it back around far faster than we thought we could. Because I thought I was out. I thought I was going to miss the cutoff on the time. But if everybody waited long enough, it was very easy for me to wait the majority of that time because I thought they were going to run the clock down and no one was going to get a timed lap. So at one point I'm sitting there thinking, sweet, let's just all wait each other out. I'm going to end up with a pole and no third attempt, or third session.
Kenny?
We've heard a lot of drivers talk about how hard the teams work to prepare Daytona 500 cars and everything they do to massage them and all the engine work, and then what a waste it is to come here now and go through this format. And we didn't just hear about it today from people that were angry.
Sure.
We heard about it Thursday when people were talking about what they could expect. Do you feel it is any more do you feel any better about the way the format is here, or would you rather it all be about the one car, the one shot, as opposed to somebody else controlling your destiny?
Man, it's tough because I think everybody's trying to keep an open mind on what's best for the sport, what creates the most interest. I guess we should maybe look at viewership numbers and attendance numbers to see if this format supports the risk that the teams are taking and drivers are taking in the cars. just on a side note, they're probably happy there wasn't any testing, because if we had 3 more days of single car testing invested in the cars, they'd really be mad. The guys that crashed today. And we say all that, and we're frustrated about today, but we've got a race on Thursday, and that doesn't seem to bother people. Maybe it's just because it's always been there. So trying to think about the car owners and the expenses that are into all of this. I mean, that Thursday race could be, frowned upon in a certain situation. I don't know what the right thing is. Unfortunately, I drive for a big team, well-funded team, and I would be bummed if I lost my 500 car, but we've got some good backups, so maybe I don't have the best point of view on it.
Okay, we'll go Mike, Bruce, Jenna, Bob.
I'm trying to do what's right for the sport, That's why I keep referring back to stats, and I'm not trying to take a soft way out, but at some point in time, in order to grow the sport, somebody's got to be unhappy, and I don't know where that falls, and hopefully we can look at facts and stats to say, yes, this is better and it's worth the 5 cars we lost. If it didn't move the needle, then we should probably rethink things, and the 5 cars we lost wasn't worth it.
Jimmie, I know that you probably, right over here,
Oh.
Mike Vega, Boston Globe, I'm sure you probably wanted to sit on the pole there, and we're hoping that the clock would run out on everybody with you sitting on pit road, but how meaningful is it for you to be starting alongside Jeff in his last go-round here at Daytona, and how fitting is it that he's going to be leading the field to green on that day?
I guess it's so fresh with him in this position in his final year that it didn't go through my mind that way. It was, stoked for it to be a Hendrick front row. Sure, I wish that I was a few hundreds faster and got the pole, but I haven't thought of it. I've been asked this question a few times. I just haven't thought of it in that light. I guess maybe I should, and as the year goes on, it will become more of that. But yeah, to start next to him, his final Daytona 500 is very cool, and depending on how the results turn out, it could be a whole bigger storyline yet. So. But again, just to tie it back to the team, though, there's so much time and effort goes into all this. So to have the front row locked down, I don't know where Mr. H is, but I know he's smiling pretty big.
Okay, we'll go Bruce, Jenna, Don.
Bruce Martin, National Speed Sport News. Some of the drivers have said under the single lap format, it was really showcasing what the team and the engineers and the car could do. Today put the driver into the equation with the pole. Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, we definitely have to drive the cars today, and it's maybe borderline a chess game too, because you're playing the clock. You definitely don't want to be the first car off pit road. It's kind of a waiting game. Who's getting impatient? Who can afford to wait? Like the way we were positioned, really through all 3 segments, we knew the 48 was in the 500, so we're playing with house money the whole race or the whole session. And as we got to the 3rd one, I mean, it was 1st or 12th. It didn't matter. So our point of view might be a little bit different on all of that. But, we have the single car runs, and we get all these sayings it's boring. It's like watching paint dry, but you don't tear up cars. So now we have something that's a little more exciting, and we tear up some cars, and that doesn't seem to be the popular way to go about it. So I don't know what the solution is.
Go Jenna, Don, then Bob.
Jennifer, AP. Jimmie, it seems like most of the drivers who didn't make it into the final round did not like this today. We heard a lot of that at Talladega as well. Ultimately, don't you guys as drivers control how that's going to go? I don't necessarily mean the wreck, but
Right.
Who goes when? I mean, that first group, everybody was dodging around pit road. Isn't that all in your hands, and you guys can control how
Yeah.
this plays out?
No, without a doubt. It really is on us. The thing that makes it, I guess maybe most aren't thinking about, is restrictor plate racing is just so different. And if this was at Atlanta next week, you wouldn't have the same dynamic and needing to count on the draft, and it's a non-issue. But the fact this is a restrictor plate track and you have to work with others creates all this frustration. But it really is in our hands. I mean, we're the ones steering and standing on the throttle.
Don?
Jimmie, Don Coble. Can you understand how some people think this would be confusing, since you and Jeff were the 11th and 12th cars in line, and you were the 2 fastest, and the first car in line was the slowest? It just kind of, does it seem like it goes against everything that is supposed to make sense in racing?
And that's I think if in the dictionary, I'm pretty sure in the dictionary, restrictor plate racing equals what you just asked. I mean, it's just so backwards, you know? I mean, it's just plate racing and it's physics. And I think our diehard fans get it for sure. I mean, they understand the draft, and went on a big bike ride with some folks that are some pro cyclists and triathletes the other day, and they came here and the draft exists in their world and they got it. They're like, oh, no way. Okay, so the guy last in line is going to be less energy on the car and they can go faster. I'm like, yes, you got it. So I hope everybody gets it. I doubt it, but you know, it's just physics. I guess it's hard to explain all that sometimes.
Bob?
Bob Hockris, ESPN. Is there any part of this that is more fun for a driver than single car qualifying? Because everything we ever heard was like, well, anybody could get in the car and whoever could do it, hammer the gas and
We
go.
were bitching then and we're bitching now, aren't we?
Well,
Must be racing.
I mean, is there any part of the chess game that is enjoyable?
I've had a decent amount of success with it the last 2 or 3 plate tracks, so I feel like I'm understanding how to work it. So I don't have the worst opinion of it. I mean, it is weird, the waiting game. I get it. You know, that part is frustrating, but I don't know how we make entertaining restrictor plate qualifying. Unless they run us through the chicane on the backstretch or something, I don't know how we make it entertaining.
Come up to Lewis.
Sure.
Louis Frank of Reuters. Taking out the random nature, though, of a wreck in a restrictor plate racing, which is more challenging to you as a driver, just a single car qualifying or going out in these packs?
These packs are definitely more challenging. On a single car, you just get it through the gearbox and follow the yellow line, and the speeds are slow enough that the car's well under its grip level and the limits of the vehicle. Once you get 40 cars around you, low air, speed goes up 20 miles an hour, then the car is tough to drive. That's what we have with this group qualifying session. You're actually in there driving the car, and there is some luck involved in where you are in line and why the car creates a faster time, but there is much more driving required in the group qualifying session.
Chris?
Chris Knight, catchfans.com. Jimmy, Carl was in here a few minutes ago and said the duels on Thursday will be insane. Is he right?
I don't think so. I've expected stuff to go haywire in the duels every time, and I don't know if I've seen a crazy duel yet. Fact of the matter, there's 6 cars that need to be crazy, and maybe it's 4 and 2 or 3 and 3 in a race, how it works out. Those are the only ones that really have to worry about. So the bulk of the group just plays it smart. You know, we don't want to lose our car. There's no need. I mean, sure, you might start a little farther forward, but I think they will be tame, personally.
Okay, we'll go Brant and then up here in the front.
Brant James, USA Today Sports. Is it ever disconcerting that the perceived entertainment value of your sport seems to go so far in determining the rules of competition for you?
At times, it seems like it's in question for sure. You know, I feel like we got to try though, and we've had a lot of change over the years. If you look at the last 2 or 3 years, there's been a ton of change. So as long as the needle's going in the right way, I guess we're doing it right. But you know, there certainly are plenty of chuckles about that.
Thank you.
And we'll wrap it up here in the front.
Nick Bromberg, Yahoo Sports. You mentioned the clock running down at the end. Is there anything in this type of format against like a driver code that prevent you or somebody in your position from going up to the front, simply stopping and not letting anyone else? You need help, obviously, but not letting anybody else around you to get that lap in the last session without the time expiring?
There's only so much you can do to block, and NASCAR made it known that if you were doing any of that, they'd penalize you. So, and again, you don't want to get spun out and run into or damage your car. So I don't think you could really block all that effectively. I mean, you might hold someone up for a beat, but it wouldn't be too long. And then, Brant, one thing I was just thinking about, just kind of pull it back a second. We were in Talladega, and qualifying we all felt like would be based on a practice session results. It was a couple years ago before group qualifying. If I remember right, everybody loved that practice session and how we had to race for our lap time. And then that's the stuff that NASCAR heard, and then group qualifying came into play. So after a bunch of positive input through a practice session led to a rule, and then now we're having second thoughts. So I don't know how we keep everybody happy. It's just a tough balance.
Okay, Jimmie, thanks for joining us. Congratulations and best of luck for the next week.